Good day, here are today's top stories from the Pna Headlines. We start with some good news. The Philippine government has secured the provisional release of 17 overseas Filipino workers who were arrested and detained in Qatar for holding an illegal protest. Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak says President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ordered his agency, the Department of Foreign Affairs, and the Philippine Embassy in Doha to help the detained OFWs. He says Qatari authorities released the group consisting of 12 men and 5 women in 2 batches on Thursday morning, Manila time. Kakdak also confirmed that no formal charges have been filed so far. However, the OFWs are prohibited from leaving Qatar while they are under investigation. Meanwhile, the Philippine government would continue providing legal support should the case proceed further. Kakdak also says the president ordered officials under the One Country team to provide welfare assistance to the OFWs. On March 27, some 20 OFWs were arrested in a resort in Doha while holding a protest rally. 3 of those arrested were minors who were immediately released. And more good news on the economic front. The country's inflation dropped further in March 2025 amid slower movement of food and transport costs. Data from the Philippine Statistics Authority showed last month's inflation rate dropped to 1.8%, slower than 2.1% in February. Last month's rate brings year-to-date inflation to 2.2%, well within the government's target of 2 to 4% for 2025. This is also the slowest inflation in nearly 5 years, from 1.6% in May 2020. PSA Chief and National Statistician Claire Dennis Mapa says the slower inflation was due to the slower increase in the prices of food and non-alcoholic beverages at 2.2%. Rice prices contracted at negative 7.7% from negative 4.9% in February. Cereals and other cereal products dropped at negative 5%. Meanwhile, transport costs declined from negative 1.1% to negative 0.2% following reductions in gasoline and diesel prices. Another contributor to the easing of March inflation print was restaurants and accommodation services at 2.3% from 2.8% in February. A look at global stories. South Korea's Constitutional Court upheld today the impeachment of President Yoon The court unanimously voted 8-0 for the removal of Yoon from office. The decision comes about 4 months after the National Assembly passed the motion to impeach Yoon over charges of treason. This is the first time in 8 years that a sitting president would be impeached after former President Park Geun-hye was dismissed in March 2017. Following the impeachment ruling, the South Korean government must now hold presidential elections to name his successor within 60 days or by June 3. Yoon was impeached for declaring a short-lived martial law on December 3 last year. The ousted president attempted to shut down all political activities, suspend the free press, and order the arrest of political opponents in the guise of preventing anti-state activities. Shifting gears now, the LRT2 and MRT3 will offer free rides for Filipino veterans in celebration of the 83rd Day of Valor and the Philippine Veterans Week. Starting April 5, Saturday, until April 11, next Friday, Filipino veterans may ride the MRT3 for free from 4:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. at the North Avenue Station and from 5:05 a.m. until 11:09 p.m. at the Taft Avenue Station. Veterans must present a valid identification card from the Philippine Veterans Affairs Office at any MRT3 station. They may avail of free rides for themselves and one companion. Free rides will also be available for veterans and their companions at the LRT2 throughout its operating hours. In a statement, MRT3 General Manager Michael Capati says the free rides will be provided in recognition of the sacrifices and contributions of veterans during World War II. Meanwhile, on April 9, the Day of Valor, all passengers of the LRT2 will also be able to enjoy free rides from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. A look at business headlines. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has formed an advisory council in order to provide strategic guidance and insights in enhancing and strengthening the global competitiveness of the Philippines' semiconductor and electronics industry. The SEI Advisory Council was created under Administrative Order 31 signed by Marcos on March 28. According to AO 31, the Council is directed to ensure that the PSEI roadmap aligns with the country's national economic development objectives. This will serve as the President's primary advisor on matters concerning the sector's growth, promotion, and competitiveness. Frederick Go, Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs, will chair the SEI Advisory Council, while Trade Secretary Maria Cristina Aldeguerroque will be the Vice Chairperson. Meanwhile, the Philippines has a chance to boost its agricultural exports to the United States. This after U.S. President Donald Trump mandated a 17% tariff on the country's goods. Agriculture Secretary Francisco T. Laurel Jr. says the Philippines has the lowest tariff rates among competitors and it is favorable to take advantage of the imposed tariffs. He stressed that a 17% tariff can help the country grow exports in the competitive U.S. market. Products like coconut, seaweed, and fish are among those with growth potential. Competitor countries such as Vietnam face a 46% tariff, 36% for Thailand, 32% for Indonesia, while other ASEAN countries like Cambodia are charged 49% and Malaysia 24%. And that's the latest and the biggest stories on the PNA headlines. For more news updates, visit our website pna.gov.ph or our Facebook and X account, Philippine News Agency. The PNA Headlines is also streamed via the Silvisio Facebook page. You may also watch the PNA Headlines through the Philippine News Agency's YouTube account and via the News and Information Bureau website under PNA News. I'm Benj Bondok. This is the PNA Headlines, bringing stories that unite the nation.